Hey guys, what is up? It is Carly here. Welcome back to my channel. I am bringing you episode number 16 of my entire horror movie collection here. And yes, today we are moving on to the VHS portion of the collection. I have a decent bit of VHS. Now, a lot of these, honestly, I've probably showed before in updates because I didn't start collecting VHS tapes until I kind of rediscovered them whenever my mom was moving out. I found a bunch that I used to have, and that kind of inspired me to start collecting them. The reason I didn't collect them before is because I didn't have a VHS player, for one, and two, they are kind of big and obnoxious and take up a lot of space, but at the same time, I think it's just fun to go to Goodwill's and find them, so my collection has expanded. But like I said, a lot of these I've probably shown before, so, I apologize if I've already talked about half of these, but I'm just going to go ahead and get right on into this. And first up we have Army of Darkness. This is one of the more recent ones that I've picked up. So this is actually from a half-price books for $7.98. I did not get it at a half-price book. I got it at a Goodwill for 99 cents. So there's that. Army of Darkness, obviously part 3 of the Evil Dead movies. I'm not huge on the Evil Dead films. I've only seen all of them one time, to be honest, but I really like the first one, and I really like the remake. Part 2 I wasn't crazy about, so I didn't think I would really like this one too much because everyone says that this one, is silly, kind of like how part 2 is, and I definitely did not love this movie all that much, but at the same time, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It was okay, just not something that I would rewatch a million times over like a bunch of other people tend to do, but it's not a bad movie at all. Next up we have Bats. I did not really care for Bats. This is probably one of the first VHS that I actually picked up when I started collecting them, and I really have always liked this cover, honestly. I think it's just a really cool, the purples and pinks and things like that in it, so I picked it up mainly because of the cover, but when I watched it, first of all, this is a very bad VHS copy. It barely works. It was very fuzzy and hard to watch, so that kind of took me out of the film, and besides that, I found it to be just a little bit boring and just not really my taste, but I think it's just cool to have in the collection because of the cover art alone. Next up we have The Birds. There was one day where the Goodwill had a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock films, which was pretty cool, so I finally went ahead and picked this up. I've seen this at Goodwill's countless times, but I just never picked it up for whatever reason. I think it's just because it's such a common thing, and I thought, like, oh, I can get that anytime, but like I said, one day the Goodwill had a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock films, so I figured I would finally grab this as well as some other ones. And The Birds, it's a movie that I kind of like and kind of don't like. It's one that I've only really seen bits and pieces of growing up, and I liked what I saw, but upon watching it all the way through for the first time, I found it to be a little bit boring and felt like it could have been cut down a little bit in some parts. But with that being said, it is an older movie, and older movies tend to be a little bit longer than they really need to, so overall I think it's a really solid film. It's just one that I don't like as much as I really thought I did originally, because I think I thought I saw this all the way through when I was younger, but in reality I'd only seen bits and pieces on TV. So The Birds, it's obviously a classic, but not one of my favorites. After that we have Candyman. I have this on DVD. Actually, I think I might have gave my mom the DVD copy, but it was that stupid DVD where it's just Tony Todd standing there and it's all red. So I was happy to find this VHS because I've always liked this cover with the eyeball. I think it's much cooler than that other cover, and this is in pretty good condition, so had to pick it up. I also had part 2 already on VHS, which I'm about to show next, so I was happy to find this just to kind of put them next to each other. And Candyman, pretty good movie. Not one that I really run back to a whole lot, but it's pretty solid. Then, like I said, I have Candyman 2. This came with this, like, protective covering, whatever you want to call it, to, I guess, protect your VHS cover. So, just kept it on here. I got this at a Goodwill, actually, out in Indiana, PA, whenever JP and I went to the drive-in that we usually go to. So that was a little over a year ago now. And yeah, Candyman 2, definitely not nearly as good as the first one. It actually just feels like a remake of the first one to me, but not nearly as good. It's definitely kind of a disappointing sequel, but it's not as bad, I guess, as I thought it was going to be. Just not very entertaining or something I would really go back to. Next up, we have Carrie. Obviously, I own this one on DVD already. It's one that everyone has in their collection, but I had to pick it up just because it's one of the classic movies that if you see it on VHS, why not grab it? And I love Carrie, one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Really like this cover as well. So, yeah, just picked it up because it's one of those classics that you just have to grab. After that, we have Children of the Corn. I actually did not own this one on DVD. This is one that you would think everyone would own, but I did not own it for whatever reason, but I owned part 2 and part 3 for some reason. I think it's because this was always on Netflix, so I would just watch it on Netflix and didn't really see a point in picking it up, but I found it at Goodwill, so figured that was my chance to grab a copy, and this is a pretty cool one to have on VHS. I like this simple cover art as well. Then we have Child's Play. I believe I have this one on Blu-ray as well, and this is actually one from my childhood. This is one of the ones that I found in my mom's collection whenever she was moving, and I took it off her, so I actually bought that Blu-ray before finding all those VHS, oddly enough, and this is one that I remember watching quite a bit when I was younger, and I really, really like Child's Play. It's not one that I rewatch a whole lot nowadays. For whatever reason, I kind of forget about it, but it's one that I definitely loved growing up, and it's one of the ones that we actually saw at that drive-in that I just mentioned, so that was a really, really cool experience. So yeah, Child's Play, really like this movie. Then we have Christine, which is another one that I really enjoy every time I watch it, but for whatever reason, I never go back to it a whole lot, and it's probably one of my favorite John Carpenter films, honestly. You know, everyone always says they love Halloween or the Fog or The Thing, but they don't really bring this one up as much, I find, and I don't know, I find that crazy because I really, really enjoyed this one. It would probably be one of my favorite horror movies, arguably, if I watched it more times. So, yeah, I'm happy to own this one on VHS too because it's another one that I didn't own on any other format. Then we have Cujo. Recently showed this one in an update, recently grabbed it. This is a film that I did not see growing up or anything like that, and I had mentioned that because of that, it kind of made the movie suffer a little bit for me just because I felt like I already knew the entire story behind it, so when watching it, it wasn't like anything was overly surprising or anything like that. But with that being said, I think it's a solid film and something that people should watch at least once in their life. I think the dog is really scary in this film, and there are some genuinely scary moments, and you just feel really bad for the mom character in this, dealing with her annoying-ass little kid, whining the whole time, and as well as the situation at hand. So, pretty good film, just something that kind of got ruined for me as I got older. Then we have Disturbing Behavior. This is a 90s film, obviously. I think this is from 1998, and it definitely feels like one. It's not one that I had watched or really heard anyone talk about growing up or anything like that, but I watched it, and I thought it was honestly pretty solid. I would like to give it a rewatch because I feel like I wasn't as invested as I should be, but I found it to be pretty okay. You know, it had that 90s music in it and just that 90s feel in general that I really dig in these types of movies. It's definitely one of the better ones to come out of the Scream era of films, I would say. So, yeah, definitely one I would like to rewatch. After that, we have Final Destination. I recently grabbed this one as well as part 2 on VHS because I didn't own these ones on DVD either, and these are movies that I thought I would never really want to go back to. I don't know why. I think in my head I just thought they weren't going to hold up and they would be cheesy and just not really for me, but I actually had a lot of fun watching this movie over again, and I'm glad I picked it up because it is a pretty solid watch, and what's going on in it is actually kind of scary to me and gets to me. Things with like plane crashes or car crashes really freak me out, and just the idea of cheating death and stuff like that. So these are solid films, and I will say they do hold up for the most part. Part 2 here, yeah, I reviewed this on Body Bags recently, and I actually like this one a little bit more than Part 1. I just like the characters in this one a little bit more, and I think it's more of a funner movie. I feel like it's a little bit less serious maybe, and it's got really good gore effects and things like that. So I like this one a little bit better than Part 1, but they're pretty solid films, honestly. Can't say the same thing for the rest of the franchise because I haven't actually seen the rest of the franchise. I might have seen Part 3 a long time ago, but I don't really remember it. But I hear a lot of people say that those movies are not bad either. So I will say Part 1 and Part 2 definitely hold up, though. Then we have The Fog. I thought this was a pretty cool find because it's in good condition and the cover is just pretty cool to me, honestly. With that being said, The Fog is not one of my favorite movies. I've tried to watch it so many times, and I thought like maybe it would grow on me over time, but for some reason this one, I don't know, I just get kind of bored throughout it. I do love the atmosphere and the idea behind it, and the radio station, lighthouse type of deal, like just the whole setting in general. I absolutely love that. I love stuff like that, but I don't know, the movie just doesn't really capture me as much as it does for other people. It's one that I will continue to try to watch and give more shots to, but for now I'm just kind of lukewarm on it. But I just had to pick up this VHS because I thought it was pretty cool. Then we have Frankenstein, but it's not actually Frankenstein. It is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein because I am stupid and I bought this without actually looking to make sure the VHS was the right VHS in the box, which I have done before as well. That is something that I just have to try to remind myself to do because some people are idiots and they're cruel and they put the wrong things in the box and trick you into buying their 99-cent VHS tapes. But anyway, Frankenstein. I've definitely seen Frankenstein before, but I don't fully remember it or anything like that. I would like to own it one day, but for now I just have this. I should honestly just throw this away or pawn it off to some other unfortunate idiot who's gonna accidentally pick this up because it's kind of stupid to have the wrong movie in here, especially because I actually have a copy of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein now that was given to me by JP. So I basically have the same movie, it's just the one's in a regular Frankenstein box, which is, you know, just some idiotic thing going on. But I don't know, I feel bad throwing away the VHS. It's just, I don't want to give it away either because I don't want to be like, here's this copy of Frankenstein and trick people and all that. But anyway, Abbott and Costello, I think this is actually a pretty fun movie. I didn't know if I was going to like this that much because I'm not overly into these older classic films, like these black and white movies, and sometimes, obviously this is supposed to be comedic, and sometimes that sort of goofy, quirky comedy from back then doesn't really resonate with me well, but I actually really enjoyed this and found it to be a pretty fun watch, and I'd be interested in checking out more of the Abbott and Costello films, because I know a lot of people really love these, and yeah, found this to be pretty enjoyable. And lastly, guys, we have Frankenstein. Once again, this is the one with Robert De Niro, I believe, and I'm going to be entirely honest, I wasn't at all into this movie, and I barely paid attention to it. I just think I really wasn't in the mood for this type of film the night that I attempted to watch it, so I can't really say anything about it. I think some people tend to like this one. I'm pretty sure it's not a bad adaptation or anything like that, but for me, it's one that I definitely have to give a rewatch to because I was not really feeling it and I barely paid attention. I can't really tell you what was going on, but obviously it's another Frankenstein story. So yeah, can't really say much on that one, but that is it for this part, guys. Thank you once again for joining me. I'll try to pop these out every week. I'm off weekends now, so I'll try to do one every weekend if I can, just to try to get this done because I'm almost done. I mean, I only have the VHS left. So thank you guys for joining me for part 16, and I will see you for part 17.